Composting is about providing feed and water to oxygen-dependent decomposers. In this video, the focus is on providing for the microscopic decomposers which dominate the first phase of the composting process. Dr. Robert Logan from CASE will take you through providing these microbes with suitable feedstock, providing the steady stream of oxygen they absolutely need, and providing the warmth they prefer to be productive.
What are the feed requirements for these microbes? Firstly, organic matter with sufficient nitrogen, with particle size small enough for the microbes to have easy access. And of course, enough water to sustain life. Fresh goat feces has all of those properties and can be used by itself. On the other hand, waste grass tend to be too low in nitrogen and too dry. Furthermore, sometimes it has too much lignin. Success comes from combining material to satisfy the water, nitrogen, and particle size requirements. Now, how do we provide the abundant oxygen that these microbes require? Simply by setting up air inlet at the bottom of the pile and ensuring that the pile is porous. Perhaps one of the most important jobs for the composter is to make the pile porous, then to force air through it. When hot air rises, air is drawn into the pile as long as the replacement air is coming from below. The same effect we see in animal houses with ridge vents. And in the jerk pan, note the position of the air inlet.
Okay, the very first step in compost making is to make certain that the compost is not placed directly on the ground. It needs to be placed on aeration channel to allow air to move up from the bottom. So, some bamboo slats are put in place so that there is air underneath the pile. It's also important to make the very first layer a very thick layer of some very fibrous material that won't rot too easily, like some waste grass, lignified waste grass from the unit. Finished first layer should look somewhat like this, with a very thick layer of very fibrous material covering the bamboo slats. This bramble is an example of an alternative aeration chamber. So if you are on a farm and you don't have bamboo available, this is material from the woody part of the browsing material, can be laid in a crisscross manner, and the waste could be placed on this just like the bamboo slat, and it will work just as well.
The next task is to ensure the pile is porous. For this to be, we must have abundant air spaces. Enough water to sustain life, but not so much to clog the air spaces. Likewise, particles should be fine, but not fine enough to cause compaction.
Dry. However, most times the goat feces is mixed up with urine, or is otherwise wet, and it becomes not so porous. So if the pile is made completely of this wet feces, we run into aeration problems. So it's going to be important to combine this feces with material that is very porous. So we're going to make this be our very first layer. So we're going to be spreading it. We're going to be spreading it all the way evenly, keeping it flat, uniform layer of one particular type of material. So to balance the material, to maintain that porosity now, then we take some waste grass, which is a fairly common product of the unit. Don't want too much, too thick a layer of this. And we do the same, spread it evenly, turn it close to the edges, because we want to stack it properly. And that's it, we have 2 layers which in combination will make the material of the required porosity. So again, we go back to the pieces that is not suitable and we make the 3rd layer. So it's very important to have these layers thin and uniform, because by themselves they are not suitable.
Finally, it is important to provide warmth. How do we provide the temperature that the microbes need? Have a minimum pile volume and make the pile have a particular shape. Why does the shape matter? If it is too long and thin, there will be too much heat loss. Shorter and fatter piles retain heat a lot better. With regards to the size, it should be at least 1 cubic meter in volume.
So this is an example of a pile that was built in 2 stages. Perhaps at the time there wasn't enough material to complete the entire thing. So just half of the pile was built
in order to get that compact shape. Note that the volume is adequate and the shape is ideal.
For the early colonizers of the compost pile, waste material from the small ruminant farm makes suitable feedstock. The compost pile can be made with air inlet and sufficient porosity to ensure adequate oxygen for them. Having the pile of adequate volume and appropriate shape can ensure optimum temperature.